सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। We are doing, this is the topic. If moksha, meaning freedom, if it is not our nature, what is not our nature can never be, made our nature. And what is not our nature, even if we create it, then it will be lost. Whatever is created will be lost. That is a very ruthless law. Very ruthless law. Whatever is created has to go, however great it is. Therefore, even if I gain some freedom from outside, it will be lost. And what can be lost, it cannot be moksha. That will be a part of samsara. Gaining, losing is a part of samsara. And moksha means is not something that can be gained and lost. It doesn't come under the category of things which can be gained and lost. Therefore, here what the Shastra is conveying to man is, hey, your freedom is your Swarupa. The problem is not that you are not free. The problem is that you are not aware of that fact. That's called ignorance. You are not aware of the fact that you are already free. Not only one is not aware of that fact, one even mistakes oneself to be bound. This is the problem. There is a mistake that I am bound. Therefore, knowing our nature is called moksha. Freedom from that ignorance about ourselves and freedom from that error about ourselves is called moksha. Even though it is very natural for us to define freedom as freedom from bondage, but bondage directly you cannot be free from bondage. We have to be free from the reason for the felt bondage. The reason for the felt bondage is the misconception or the self-error. This view that I am the body, this view leads to the feeling of bondage. That itself is bondage. That view that I am the form is the bondage. Therefore, in order to be free from bondage, I have to be free from the view. Therefore, freedom from that view is moksha. We have to define bondage as a view. Then alone human beings will go for knowledge. As long as bondage is not explained away, as long as bondage is not conveyed by the Shruti as synonymous with or even due to that view, I would like to put bondage as synonymous with that view. Bondage is a view. That I am this Deha is a very anadi view, is no ordinary view, universal view. Therefore, when we think of moksha, we should immediately be clear, moksha does not mean freedom from something called bondage. Freedom means freedom from the wrong view about ourselves, because of which wrong view the bondage is felt. So, getting out of that view is called moksha. It is avidya nivritti is moksha. For a layman, freedom from bondage is moksha. For a thinking man, freedom from the view is the moksha. Very big difference. If I do not understand bondage as a view, then I will be fighting with that sense of bondage, trying to control it, trying to divert it, trying to divert my attention from the feeling of bondage. I try to forget that feeling of bondage. I mean, there are so many exercises. Hey, if bondage is a view, how can you divert? I am Deha, from this, how do you get divert? How do you divert your mind? I am Deha is the view. Now divert your attention from it. One can't divert one's attention from the view that I am the body. That needs to be. So that happens to be a wrong view. Therefore, we have to take up the study of our being. That is called Vedanta. So here the author says, moksha, see, this is what we are doing. Idam tu paramarthikam kutastha nityam vyomvat sarva vyapi sarva vikriya rahitam nityatriptam niravayavam swayam jyotisvabhavam. Up to this I would like to recapitulate what we did last week. That is, Parinami Nityam is like matter. It continues to change, and with the change it continues. This changingly continuous phenomenon, this continuity with the changes is called continuity. The known sense of the word continuity. This is all that we think of. Continuity means something continues, but with all its changes. If somebody says, no, continuity without change, that's all just expressions. It's all wishful thinking. Continuity in time is always, it changes. A seed continues in the form of a plant, that continues in the form of a tree, that continues in the form of wood, and that continues in the form of furniture, and that continues in the form of ashes. If it gets burned, it goes back to the elements. Now this kind of continuity with all the changes is what we call parinami nityam. It's just a synonym. It's an English. Continuity in Sanskrit is parinami nityam. It continues with all the changes. But the reality that Vedanta is trying to convey, or the reality that is in everybody's experience as the subject, well, that is Kutastha Nityam, meaning it continues without change, which we call eternity. So, what continues with the change is definitely an object of perception and memory. Whereas, what continues without any change is not an object of perception and memory. The very subject, the very rememberer is eternal. What I see and remember is continuous with the changes. The rememberer is eternal. The seer is eternal. And he continues not inside time, but he continues free from time. He is called Kutastha Nityam. Here the author is saying, moksha is Kutastha Nityam. Very big point. Moksha is Kutastha Nityam. Idam tu Paramarthikam. This is Paramarthikam. Kutastha Nityam. Kutastha means changeless. Nityam means that which continues. That changelessly continuous. Continuity without change is what we call the eternity. It is not that really continuity, eternity are not synonyms. They mean the same thing. But we have to show the difference. Instead of using the word continuity, supposing I use the word eternity, it doesn't mean it conveys. You see, oh, it is not continuous, it is eternal. It doesn't mean anything. These are all synonyms. Therefore, whether we use the word continue, because like Bhashyakara has used the word nityam for both, but he has qualified Kutastha Nityam and Parinami Nityam. Nitya Shabda is used common for both. Therefore, when we say continue, that the matter continues with all the changes, the self continues without any change. I can use the word continuity, so no problem nahi. Self continues. What is the problem? Continuity is not a bad word. But I have to explain that term, that continuity involving no change. And it is, if it is an object of perception and memory, it has to change. Change is not only the Shadbhava Vikaras, change must also include the Srishti and Laya. That also comes under it. That is why the very beginning of the waking and the resolution of the waking comes under change. Begins and it ends. Why not? The waking state begins and ends. That itself is a change. Therefore, whereas the subject neither changes nor it begins and ends. When it is, it doesn't change, nor does it Nor there is a time when it is not, nor there is a time when it is not. Nor will there be a time when it will not be. Therefore, neither it has the yaska paripatita shadbhava vikaras, nor does it have the beginning and end like this universe. Neither it has janma sthiti bhanga rupa parinama, nor does it have the change in terms of jayate, vardhate, like the body undergoes changes. The physical body goes through changes like the birth, the growth, the decline, the aging, etc. And ultimately it has these 6 great changes. So the subject doesn't have infancy, growth, teenage, youthhood, adulthood, old age, etc., etc. Nor does it have the change of the universe. Neither it has the change of a bhautika, nor does it have the change of the bhuta. The bhutas, the elements have beginning and end. The elements made body called the elemental, like a plant. It has the shadbhava vikaras. So the subject doesn't have either the 6-fold changes or the 3 janma sthiti bhanga, which are the characteristics of universe as a whole. And that means it's not an object of perception and memory. And that is called Kutastha Nityam, which is one the very observer. So, Vyomavad Sarva Vyapi. Like space, it is all pervasive. Because the drashta, the observer doesn't stand short of what he observes. The drashta is comprehensive of all the drishya. The seer doesn't stop short of the seen. And seeing that I stop short, the seer stops short of the seen, is what we call the sense of division. The seer is not divided from, the seen is not divided from the seer. There is no division. And therefore, the drashta, the seer is Vyomavad Sarvavyapi, is all pervasive. Sarva Vikriya Rahitam, free from all changes. Nitya Triptam, it is ever full. Fullness is satisfaction. Satisfaction is not a feeling. You see, the known meaning of the word satisfaction is fulfilling a desire. That is why there is a person, there are people who say, which I have heard, unless you have a desire, how can you feel satisfied? It is only you must have a desire and you must fulfill it, you must get the object of desire, then there is a feeling of satisfaction. Therefore, minus the desire, you can never be satisfied. Therefore, the known meaning of the word satisfaction is fulfilling a given desire. You get the object of desire, then you feel satisfied. That is not what, when we say the truth is ever satisfied, Nitya Triptam, it is ever satisfied. Triptam is a nishtha. You see, Nitya Triptam, Tripyati, Divadigan. तो निष्ठा लगाएंगे तो तृप्त हो गया. तो when you translate तो निष्ठा है, तो satisfied हो जाएगा. Nitya Triptam means what? Ever satisfied. Now, how does one understand this meaning that God is ever satisfied? This one expression, that self is ever satisfied, what does it mean? That means he had a desire and he successfully fulfilled it. Anyway, because everything is at his disposal, why can't he say that there is satisfaction is not in the form of fulfilling a desire. Satisfaction is in the form of the fullness of one's being. It is synonymous with one's being. It is not in the form of one's emotion. I have to remember that I had a desire, and I have to remember how much I struggled, and I must get the object of it. When I relate the achievement with the desire, when I relate the achievement with the struggle, and greater the struggle I had, greater the sense of satisfaction. Therefore, you don't enjoy what you get easily. You blow it up easily, all right. It is not that you enjoy it. Why? Because you are not relating the achievement not relating it to the struggle. Therefore, I had a desire, I craved for it, and I struggled for it, and I got it. Thus, when I relate the achievement with the desire and struggle, there is a sense of a triumph. There is a sense of victory. There is a sense of success. There is a sense of satisfaction. This alone is the known meaning of the word satisfaction. This alone is the known meaning in the world. And we try to interpret the ever-satisfied nature of the reality also in those terms. Interpreting the ever-satisfied nature of the self in those terms doesn't work. It's an event, it is an emotion, it is something, it is an event. Here it is not at the thought level. Satisfaction is not in the form of the thought level. It is not at the thought level. Satisfaction is the fullness of the being. Like in the deep sleep, really there is no desire fulfilled there. Neither there is a reference to the prior desire, nor reference to the prior struggle, but yet Sushupti is total satisfaction where the desire is not possible. That is fullness of one's being. And that should be the meaning of the word Nityatriptam. And that is Nityatriptam Niravayavam. And it is not made of limbs. Swayam Jyoti Swabhavam. And it is self-evident. Swayam Jyoti. Itself is the light. Its existence does not have to be illumined by another light. Swayam is the light. Like you see the objects, the form is illumined by the seer. The form cannot illumine itself. To be known is to be illumined. There is no other kind of illumination. The sound is illumined by the one who hears it, the one who knows it. Thus the universe is always not Swayam Jyotihi. The universe, the five elements, the five objects are not Swayam Jyotihi. They are known. Body is known, and the thoughts are known. The waking state is known, dream state is known, even their abhava is known. And what is known, to be known is what is called to be illumined. And the one who knows is not again illumined by another one. Therefore, the one who knows everything has to be Swayam Jyotihi. Swayam Jyoti. Therefore, our being, we are by nature Swayam Jyoti. Swayam Jyotihi means what? Requiring no light. Even physical light is not Swayam Jyoti. It is Jyotihi all right, but it is not Swayam Jyotihi, because even the physical light cannot know itself. It cannot become evident on its own. even Jyoti, physical light, is known, and the one who knows the physical light is Swayam Jyoti. Therefore, the subject, the very observer, the Sakshi, that we are choicelessly, and that is Swayam Jyoti. And that doesn't change, because change also cannot illumine itself. Change has to be known. Change is not self-evident. Change has to be known by the observer, and therefore the one who observes the change of the body, etc., the one who observes the change of the changeable, definitely the one who observes doesn't change. And therefore, being the Swayam Jyoti, he does not change. And that changeless being, that which ever is without change, that status of ever being without change, quote unquote, is what we call Kutastha Nityam, as different from the other one. Let us read. Yatra karma karmau sahakaryena kalatrayam cha na upavartete. This is here in that Swayam Jyoti, yatra, where yasmin kutastha nitye dharma dharma, both dharma and adharma. Dharma means good deed or bad deed, and the results. Sahakaryena, along with the results. Kalatrayam cha, and the 3 periods of time. Na upavartete, do not exist. Upa-avartete, they don't exist. There is no dharma. Dharma can't reach it. Dharma is not a feature of that Swayam Jyoti. Adharma is not a feature of it, nor 3 periods of time. Why? Because man takes even the present one of the periods of time. That is why Kalatrayam. It is an anuvada. Man thinks even present as time, past is time, future is time, even the present is time. For him everything is in 3 periods of time. But when we analyze, the present is not the time. The non-time cannot be away from the 3 periods of time. The present is not time, and there the present is one's being, and with which the past and the future are inseparable. Therefore, the past is something that is adhyastha, is ananya with the present. The future also is ananya with the present. Thus the present is the being, and the past and future is what we call, that is adhyastha. But without taking into account, going by what man thinks about the present, the expression is used here as kalatrayam, the 3 periods of time. Now these 3 periods of time, the time itself doesn't exist in the Swayam Jyoti. In the Kutastha Nitya Atma, dharma doesn't exist, adharma is not a feature, kala is not a feature. He is showing a difference between the Parinami Nityam and the Kutastha Nityam. Tadetat ashariratvam mokshathyam. This is indeed ashariratvam. This observer status, this light status of being Swayam Jyoti, this status of being free from time and dharma and adharma, this status of being sarvavyapi, this status of being what we call nityatriptam, this status of the very being is what we call ashariratvam, otherwise called moksha. That means the self is by nature mukta. The self is by nature free from being the body. The self is by nature, free from being the body. The light is, the observer is by nature free from being the body. Therefore, that freedom from being the body is the nature even when one takes oneself to be the body. Even when one takes oneself to be the body, right in that sense, one is by nature free from being the body. That is the nature ununderstood. And that I am the body happens to be the error due to that very non-understanding. Therefore, ashariratvam, otherwise called moksha, otherwise called the very swarupam, is nitya siddham. The freedom is nitya siddham. Moksha. Iti mokshakhyam anyatra dharmat अन्यत्र अधर्मात् अन्यत्र अस्मात् कृतात् अन्यत्र भूताच्च भव्याच्च इत्यादि श्रुतिभ्यः अन्यत्र धर्मात्. Nachiketa asks Yama, hey, please teach me what is other than dharma and adharma. Dharma, dharma means good and bad deeds. Please don't teach me good and bad, do's and don'ts. Anyatra dharmadan adharmacha. Anyatra asmat krita krita. Anyatra dharmat, anyatra adharmat. Then anyatra asmat krita akritat. And teach me something which is other than this cause and effect. These causes and effects. Krita is effect, akrita means cause. Teach me the reality that is free from causation. Why? Because if you are not interested in the actions and results, then you are not interested in free from causation, because actions and results also come under causation. Anyatra asmat krita krita. Anyatra bhutacha bhavyacha. And something that is free from past and future. Here he puts it right. Free from the past and future. The time. That means dharma dharma, karya karana bhava and kala go together. These three things cannot exist one without the other. Causation, action, law of karma, causation, literal causation. I am talking about not my literal causation. Literal causation. Understand? Like the clouds, the rains are caused. So there is causation. So this causation, actions and results, that is called law of karma, law of causation and time are, well, they have a continuum in the sense one without the other doesn't exist. They have gauna ekatvam. They are all one block. Therefore, he did not really ask for a reality that is free from three different features. Nachiketa asked for the reality, that is, it is not that it is free from three different features, unconnected features, unrelated three different features. Nachiketa asked Yama to teach him the reality that is free from causation, law of karma and time, which all three are indeed interrelated. Why? Because in the realm of Adhyasa, every detail is related to every other detail. This whole thing has got Gauna Ekatva. Therefore, you touch one thing, everything else comes. Why? Because Adhyasa cannot be divided. Like the truth is indivisible, even Adhyasa cannot be divided. For teaching, all right, we teach it piecemeal, but the Adhyasa cannot be divided. If one is very careful in thinking that I am a faker and that I was a dreamer and that I disappeared or everything got negated, the interpretation of the deep sleep state in terms of the absence of everything, this view, this thinking in terms of the presence of the form and the absence of the form, this whole thinking is one error, Adhyasa. We call them three avasthas, but one Adhyasa. They are not three Adhyasa. It is one indivisible error. It is one Adhyasa. Not only truth is indivisible, even the error is indivisible. And please don't say, Swamiji, these objects are all divided. Hey, all these divisible objects are one indivisible error. Error is not divisible. The divisibles are one error. The manifest and the unmanifest, when we talk about the manifest world and the unmanifest world, both come under one error. Whether you call it manifest snake or unmanifest snake, it is not something, there are two kinds of error. It is just one error about the confusion about the road. And therefore, here even though Nachiketa asked for a reality that is free from three features, please don't think they are all unconnected. It is all one Adhyasa. Law of causation, law of karma, and this time everything and embodiment is Saaf Pura Prapanch. He could have put even so many other things he would have brought, but then these things are enough to comprehend everything else. Therefore, Anyatra dharmad, anyatra asmat, kruta, anyatra bhutacha, bhavyacha, ityadi shutibhyaha. And he says, the reality that is free from these three features, may you teach me. May you teach me. He is not asking for a ritual to produce it. He is not asking for a karma to produce it. Why? Because he asked for a karma for the benefit of the society in the second boon. Make my parents happy in the first boon and cash. And give this society something by which they can live peacefully and with prosperity. The well-being of the physical well-being of the society. And in the third boon, he wants to know the reality about this person. He is not even asking, if you really look at the whole Grantha carefully, Nachiketa, he was not a speculator. He said really, well, what is the reality? He doesn't ask a question like that. He says, this very man who is aware of the world, does he survive when the body goes? That means he is asking a question pertaining to me in the present. Not about some remote, some speculative truth. He is not speculating about a reality. Does this man survive? Because the problem is about me. My view about myself is the problem. I have a fear of death. And there are so many beliefs based on which there is so much of culture, karma, this and that. But is there really, is it Yeyam prete chikitsa astityeke nayam astit chaike. In this world really, some people hold the view that this man survives and others think that nothing survives. Well, you are the best person to tell me exactly what is the truth. Not only you should tell me what the truth is, you should make me understand what the truth is. You should convey it to me. You should teach it to me. Thus he did not ask for a karma by which he could produce that truth that is free from the three features. Therefore, from all this, it is very clear that ashariratvam, otherwise called moksha, is something that is in the form of the swarupa of the self. It is not something that needs to be brought about through any karma. Ataham tad brahmam yasyam yam jijñāsam prastutam tad yadi kartavyaseshatvena upadishyetam tena cha kartavyena sadhyaschet moksha abhyupagamyeta anityayeva syat. Ataha, therefore, tad brahma, the Brahman, the unlimitedness of the being. If the Brahman which is conveyed as our actuality, if that Brahman, ataha tat Brahma, yasya iyam jijñāsa, yasya about which, iyam jijñāsa, this inquiry in Vedanta, prastuta has been started. Prastuta. Stu dhatu with pra upasarga. Stuta means praised, prastuta means arabdham, started. So iyam jijñāsa, dirgham, and prastuta, jijñāsa, striling, and therefore prastuta. So tad brahma yasya iyam jijñāsa prastuta, tad brahma yasya brahmanaha iyam jijñāsa prastuta, tad brahma, that brahma about which is the whole thinking. Yadi, if that brahma, if kartavya seshatvena, as related to an action, upadishyeta, if it were taught. If Brahman were really taught, upadishyeta, if it were taught, vidhilinga, upadishyeta yak. So if this Brahman were really taught as related to any action, then as a result of an action, related to an action means what? The result of an action. There is no other way of it. Either karakas get related to action or the result gets related to action. Nothing else gets related to action. Therefore, kartavya seshatvam means as related to action. Now, we do not really look upon Brahman as a karakam related to action. It is not a means of action. We look upon generally the ritualist, the Purvapakshi here tries to think that Brahman is the result of some action. Kartavya seshatvena is related to the action, upadishyeta if it were taught, tena cha kartavyena, and by the action done. By the action that is to be done and done, kartavyena, sadhyaschet, if that is the result. Moksha, freedom. If freedom is something which is the result of an action to which Brahman is related, if not as the result, all right, as the karma, as the object of action. Brahman becomes the upasyam, Brahman becomes the object of worship, and I become the worshipper the subject of worship. So this worship, which is an action relating to Brahman, if this worship related to Brahman, if this were to create a result, and if that result, if you call it as moksha, sadhyaha chet mokshaha, if moksha were the result, if moksha were the result of an action done related to Brahma, this is the whole meaning. If moksha were the result of an action related to Brahman, Brahman becomes the object of action, like table is the object of karma. I did like this is an action. What is the table? Object of action, it is a karaka. It is a karaka. Hand is a means of action. Table is the object of action. And if I worship Brahma, thinking of it in some form, if I worship Brahma, then Brahman becomes an object of mental action. So he becomes the karma of the kriya. So an action related to Brahma brings about a result called moksha. Then do you know what will happen? Moksha abhyupagamyeta, if it were accepted to be so. If moksha were accepted to be the result of a worship of Brahma, I mean in simple terms, if moksha were the result of worship of God, and worshipping is a mental action. Why it is an action? Because you have a choice to do it, not to do it, to do it otherwise. Isko pakadna chahiye. This gives you, this opens up the real Vedantic ways of, the correct ways of thinking. Any action over which I have a choice is called, anything over which I have a choice is called action. You have to hear this statement and don't think you have understood it. If you have understood it, great. But it is good, it is better that I take it for granted that you have not understood it. Because, at least I keep repeating it. Anything over which I have a choice is an action. That I worship God is over my choice. It is an action born of my decision, my choice. I decide to perform a worship. It is my choice. And therefore, if we think that moksha is the result of an action, see, now listen. Moksha is the result of an action done by my choice, quote unquote. The implication would be, my freedom is my creation. Is it not? The action is done by my choice. My action is my creation, and my action, and that action creates moksha. Therefore, indirectly, who is the author of my freedom? Myself. That means I become the creator of freedom. And when I create freedom, even if I have created it, even if it is my creation, it has to be non-eternal. That is why here he says, anityaha eva syat. It shall be non-eternal. Any result of an action has to be non-eternal. And therefore, upasana, all religious worships, all religious prayers are all undertaken by us, by our choice. And therefore, the result of those prayers, the result of those worships can never be eternal moksha. It can only be some non-eternal results. Maybe enjoyable results, but non-eternal. Therefore, what man is looking for is not something that is non-eternal. Man wants freedom forever. He wants to be free forever. Therefore, if there is moksha, then it cannot be the result of an action done by us. It has to be there as a non-result. If it is already there, then it is not a result. If it is already there, then it is not a result. That becomes a fact about me. My freedom becomes a fact about me, which is a matter for understanding, not a matter for creation. Moksha is not a matter for creation. Moksha is not a matter for creation. It is something which is a fact to be understood. And therefore, if moksha is something that is the karma sadhya, that is, if Brahman were looked upon as an object of worship, and my worship of that Brahman, if that worship can bring about some result, it can never be moksha, it can never be eternal. It has to be in the form of some material result or some biological result. It may bring about some wealth, it may bring about some health, or it may bring about some mental relative peace. And karma born peace will again be, dukkham will come back. If the relative peace is not used for discovering absolute peace, it will go. You better understand this. Relative peace will not stay. Meaning what? Relative disappearance of musibats, relative disappearance of mental musibats. It should be straightaway utilized for understanding the reality. Otherwise, all the musibats will come back. Because musibats will give us a relief. Here is the time for you to understand the reality. And if you say, well, I am not available, then they say, if you are not interested in truth, then why should we stay out? Why should we stay out? Musibats will all again come into the mind. And therefore the result of the worship is always going to be temporary. Anityeva syat. Next line. Tatraivam sati yathokta karma paleshveva aratamya avastiteshu anityeshu kaschit atishayah moksha iti prasajyeta. We will stop here. Another thing, tatraivam sati, and if moksha were accepted as the result of some worship, if moksha were accepted as the result of some upasana, then that result would be accepted as the highest result of an action. Tatra evam sati should mean what? If it were accepted, yadi moksha sadhya, if moksha were accepted as the result of some upasana directed towards Brahman, yathokta karma phaleshu, amid all the results of action, yathokta karma phaleshu eva, itself, within, amid the result, amid all the available results of karma, taratamya avastiteshu, And the results of action, they're all there with great gradation among themselves. Certain results of action are high, certain results of action are low, certain results of action take you to a higher loka or lower loka. There is a gradation among the results of worship, results of upasana, results of rituals. Any result, it has to stand in comparison to some other result. Therefore, comparison is inevitable in a realm of results. Therefore, even to give an advice to somebody, don't compare yourself, is being stupid. Why? He is not going to stop. That is inevitable. Comparison does take place. You don't compare. You stand compared in your eyes. You find yourself compared. Freedom from comparison. I cannot but compare myself with others as an individual. Definitely I see the people before me. I see the people behind me. Definitely comparison is there. So and therefore not to compare is not possible. Compare yourself and then understand something else to be understood. This particular situation, this comparative setup, this comparative existence, it has to be there, and let me not try to excel everybody else, because nobody can excel everybody. It is just everybody enjoys the same status, because everybody is available for comparison. Therefore the halat of every jiva is the same. The halat of every jiva is the same. What does it matter? Even if he is a millionaire, is a billionaire, if there is another person who is standing in front of him who has got more money, he would be as miserable as even a man who is drawing only 1,000 rupees salary and he looks at the one who is drawing 1,100 rupees, he feels miserable. I mean, the degree of problem is the same. Therefore, one has to look into the tattvam. This comparability is inevitable in a realm of jiva loka, and therefore there is no point in trying to excel everybody. I have to find the solution somewhere else. Is there a reality in which really comparisons don't exist? Closing eyes to comparability is not possible. Are able to follow? Closing eyes to comparability is not possible, because comparability, I am synonymous with comparability. That I am available for comparison is a feature of me as an individual. As a jiva, I stand compared to others. And therefore, among the results which are there, the results of action stand in gradation. Taratamya avastiteshu anityeshu, and all of them are non-eternal. Kaschid atishayaha, something that excels everything. Kaschid atishayaha. Among all the results of action, among all the results of action, among all the comparable results of action, among all the perishable results of action, the best among them would be looked upon as moksha. Kaschid atishayaha moksha iti prasajjeta. If moksha were the result of an action, then the problem would be that the moksha would be looked upon as the highest result of an action. If you look upon moksha as the highest result of an action, then your pratigna, that the results always stand in comparison, that pratigna will go. This taratamyam, this particular gradation has no end in this bhranti. You can't say there is a highest result. If it is a result, then there can be something better. So to think of moksha as the highest result of an action is a wrong thinking, because there is no such a thing called highest result. Because if it is a result, it should be If it is a result, then there should be a result, something less than it, something better than it also. Because it should stand in comparison. But anyway, even if we were to accept for the argument's sake that moksha is the highest result of action, even then being a result, it will be non-eternal. Being a result, it would be non-eternal. Even before I come to the later argument, I would ask the very beginning, how can you say this very statement, the highest result of an action, is not right? Because every result has to stand in comparison. How can you think of the highest result? If it is a result, then there has to be something less, something more. Taratamyam. Therefore, this very idea of the highest result of an action is wrong. And then I come to the next. Even if you accept moksha as the highest result of an action, even if I accept it, the problem doesn't get solved, because it is a result, though highest result, and still it has to be perishable because it is a result. That is why here Siddhartha says, sa prasajjeta nityascha moksha. Whereas moksha is something that is nitya, whereas the result of an action would be anitya, non-eternal. Nityascha moksha sarvaihi mokshavaadibihi abhyupagamyate ataham na kartavyaseshatvena brahma upadeshaham yuktaham nityascha mokshaha. Hey, Shruti says moksha is nitya. If it is a nitya, then it is not the result of an action. A Purvapakshi may say, well, it is the result of an action, but the highest result of an action. Even if it were the highest result of an action, even then it would be non-eternal. Whereas the Shruti conveys moksha as nitya. Nityascha moksha sarvaihi, by all. Moksha vadivihi, all those schools who do accept moksha, who do accept that man can get moksha, that those who accept the possibility of freedom for man, they all accept moksha as nitya. Mokshavaadibihi adhipagamyate is accepted. All the mokshavadis accept moksha as nitya. But that doesn't establish, that doesn't substantiate what the Shruti is talking. Ashigara is saying, hey, you yourself say that moksha is nitya, and then you yourself say that it is the highest result of an action. Sharam nahi aata. You understand? You yourself say moksha is eternal, and then you say it is born of an action. If it is born of an action, how can it be eternal? Therefore, you are contradicting yourself. Sarvaihi mokshavaadibihi abhyupagamyate. Ataha, therefore, na kartavyaseshatvena. As Brahman is not taught here in Vedanta as an object of worship. Kartavyaseshatvena brahmopadeshaha na yuktaha. Brahman is not, truth is not taught here as an object of prayer or worship. One may pray to the truth, one may worship the truth, not as a direct means to moksha, but as a means to certain relative peace, certain results. If I want some results, I should pray and worship. What are the results? My business should run well, and my health should be well, my mind should have a little freedom. These are all results. If I want results, then prayer and worship. But if I want moksha, the freedom which I long for, that is not something that is a result of prayer and worship, and that happens to be the very nature of the self, and that is a matter for understanding. Thus, Brahman is not taught as kartavya seshatvena na yuktaha upadeshaha iti apicham brahma vedam brahmaiva bhavati kshiyante cha asya karmani kshiyante cha asya karmani tasmin drishte paravare anandam brahmano vidvan abhibheti kutaschana abhayam vai janaka praptosi tad atmanameva avet tad atmanameva avet aham brahmasmiti tasmat tat sarvam abhavat tatra go mohakah shokah ekatvam anupashyatah ityevam adyaah shrutayah brahma vidyanantaram moksham darshayantyah madhye karyantaram varayanti. Here he says, hey, the vakyas like this. We'll go into all those vakyas. The vakyas that are cited here, varayanti, they warn you against. That is my translation. They avoid. They stop. They warn you against. What? A step between knowledge and freedom. Brahma vidyanantaram moksham darshayantyah shrutayah madhye karyantaram varayanti. These Shrutis telling that solely the understanding liberates you. A right understanding and moksha, between the two, there is nothing else to be done. Between understanding and freedom. Whereas the Purvapakshi is saying that you should not only gain knowledge, after gaining knowledge you should worship what you have understood. You should not only know truth, after knowledge you should worship truth. As a result of that worship you will get moksha. Whereas the Shrutis that are cited here tell that between freedom and knowledge there is no gap. Between knowledge and freedom from bondage, between right understanding and freedom from bondage, between them there is no second step. Like even understanding the rope and freedom from this snake, between the two there is nothing else to be done. It is not that the knowledge of the rope does not correct the snake perception. And in our life we do see that knowledge doesn't take the help of anything in correcting ignorance or error. Just as the light does not take the help of any action in removing the darkness. Light all by itself removes darkness. In the same manner, knowledge also all by itself removes ignorance. Right knowledge all by itself corrects the error. It doesn't take the help of any action or attitude, even attitude. With whatever, like even if you lit a match, if you lit the lamp, if you lit a candle in the dark room, even with the wrong attitude, if you want to kill somebody with the wrong attitude, really, you create light, it is going to dispel darkness. Light dispels darkness independent of any action or attitude. Similarly, here also, the Brahmajnanam, self-knowledge, removes self-ignorance and self-error without taking the help of any associated attitude or following attitude, associated action or following action. There is no such a thing. That knowledge does not remove the avidya. Therefore, madhye karyantaram varayanti. The Shrutis show that there is nothing to be done between understanding and moksha. And if you think that there is something else to be done, then without understanding you conclude that I have understood, and afterwards you will keep doing something for moksha. These are all the dangers. I have understood what you have said, Swamiji, but still I don't feel free. Therefore, there must be something I should be doing, and then you will be doing. That means I have taken for granted, I have understood, but still I don't feel free. Therefore, I should be doing some practice. Then I'll get into some upasana, some practice, etc. And therefore, a jiva should only concentrate on understanding until he understands correctly. And alongside, you can offer prayer, not as a substantiator of reflection, not as a strengthener of vichara, but prayer you can offer only for certain things. God, let all be well so that I can continue reflection. That becomes the Nitya Karma. In the life of a student of Vedanta, Nitya Karma doesn't go against the Vichara. Nitya Karma is a daily prayer which can help me in various ways to continue Vichara until I understand. But I can't conclude that I have understood and start doing practices. Why? Because Shruti says between understanding and moksha there is no gap for you to undertake some other program. And what are these vakyas? These vakyas we will see when we come back. One after another, there are beautiful vakyas. And those vakyas, one after another, we will try to go into when we come back. And we will come back on 16th of October. Till then, look yourself. आराम से पढ़े रहिए, पढ़ते रहिए, पढ़ाते रहिए, पढ़ो, पढ़ाओ, पढ़े रहो, विचार करते. There is nothing better than that. There is nothing better than that. Because if you don't padho or padhao, even then it doesn't matter. Padhe raho. And we will come back. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnamidam Vachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vachyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Not difficult.
No, just one question. May I ask?
Yeah, please.
How do you, from what you say, is that we understand and realize the truth,
Yeah.
we are everything.
Yeah.
Then where's the role of divine grace?
Divine grace has a role in bringing you to the class, in inspiring you to ask questions, in inspiring you to reflect, in keeping you in good health, in helping you to find a place where you can study, in helping, in getting cooperation from the other members of the family. Facilitate. That is divine. Divine grace doesn't bring understanding. Divine grace creates an opportunity for understanding. Divine grace, if it is a sakshat sadhanam, meaning the direct creator of knowledge, then it will create problem. Because whether grace creates or my action creates, anything that is created, being a result, has to be non-eternal. Therefore, God-given also has to go. Therefore, this is a very serious matter. The result, whether I create it or the grace creates it, it is going to be non-eternal. Therefore, as a student of Vedanta, you have to be a very serious thinker. Otherwise, you will end up in some upasana. You will study Vedanta and ultimately you will say, you will not reflect. It's a very beautiful thing. Vedanta is a very beautiful thing. But you have to rise to the occasion and to think correctly. Whether God gives me freedom or I bring about freedom, it has to disappear. Why? It's not my nature, but came from outside. See? And there, whereas Vedanta is saying, hey, your freedom is eternal because that happens to be your nature. And you have to look at yourself very closely as obtaining in the three states. So you have to look at the experiences very diligently, Like a scientist is so diligent about what he is doing in a laboratory. He is very diligent about what he does. He means business. In that manner, a student of Vedanta must listen to Vedanta well and think what it is talking very seriously. Now you are talking about the divine grace. Definitely, in fact, divine grace plays greater role in the life of a student of Vedanta because yes, we do require this very prayer that we offer comes back to us in the form of the facilitator of reflection. Facilitator. So whenever so that the things don't go wrong here and there. For everything you require grace in this world, except self-understanding of it. If it is a fact, I have to understand it. If it is not there, I have to ask for it. I have ill health, I have to ask for it. Prayer is beautiful. If there is some klesha in the house, I have to pray to God, let things subside. And that grace can affect others' thinking. Your prayer can affect others' thinking because it is within the law of karma. And their thinking is not outside law of karma. Their thinking is what? Because they are not thinking about a reality anyway. It is all just emotions and attitudes. And therefore they are all themselves. They can be affected favorably by your prayer. That is divine grace. That is why we say we have Shanti mantras. Right in the very first Shanti mantra is a prayer. In fact, beautiful prayer. That is, God look after me and my teacher. Sahana bhavatu, sahana bhunatu. May you look after him, his survival and my survival. Please give roti to my teacher and me. That's all. Sahana bhunatu. You don't have to bring in all unnecessary meanings. You don't have to bring in all unnecessary classical, what we call scholarship born meanings. Because when we pray to God, sitting under a tree, where Bhiksha you have to survive on, naturally the brahmachari and the teacher have to only say, hey Bhagavan, protect us both from malaria, etc. and also give roti to both of us. Gunattu, bhojayatu. Other meanings also can be brought in. We don't have to interpret the Vedanta Siddhantam into that prayer. If we interpret the whole Siddhantam into that Vedanta prayer, then after only prayer that is enough, then Vedanta Siddhanta ke liye kya zarurat? Therefore, simple, beautiful meaning, beautiful prayer, protect both of us and look after both of us. Sahaviryam karavavahai. God help us both make an effort to teach and understand. Tejasvinav atitamastu. Tejasvinav atitamastu. And what we have studied make add to our understanding. Ma vidvishavahai. May we not be indifferent to each other. The teacher and the student. May we not be, the student says, may we not be indifferent. Let there be no hatred. Meaning it is indifference. Because even indifference can lead to, suspension of teaching. Is it a prayer or not? And definitely it is meant to bring the facilitator, which are very closely connected. Survival attitude. Physical survival and right attitude are the immediate, facilitators of study and reflection. That way divine grace plays a greater role in the life of a Vedanta Vidyarthi. Of course it plays a role in everybody's life, but more so the life person.
I haven't understood error is indivisible.
Error is indivisible means it is one misconception. Supposing you say, I'll just give you an example. Supposing there is a road and you mistake it for snake, and the snake has got so many stripes. Okay, it's all divisible stripes. But it is one mistake about the rope.
Can it be applied to anything like in general, error is indivisible?
Yes, because all that appears to be divided is an error about a fact. A given fact is misunderstood as something other than it. Okay? And therefore that is one error. It is counted as one misconception. That misconceptions may have many colors about it, etc. But all of them should be treated as one error. Body is divisible.
No, not body is alive. No.
You have to. The body is divisible. I didn't say divided.
Sorry.
आराम से सुनना वेदांत है, ऐसा नहीं समझ में आएंगे. I did not say body is divided. Body is divisible. Do you understand? But I am the body is an error about the truth, which is indivisible. Is one thought. Body is divisible. But I am the body is an error, is one misconception, is one error. I am in time is an error. They are not two errors. Because that I am the body itself is synonymous with I am in time. I am divisible is an error, again an indivisible error. It means if I am the body, then I am divisible also, that I am also in time. They all mean the same thing. That I have a beginning and an end. Same thing. If I am the body, then I have a beginning and an end. Then I am subject to change. That is not another error. That I will die is not another error. By dint of being the form, I am changeable. I have a beginning and an end. And I am changeable. I am in time, I am in space, I am a mortal, you name any. It's all there within that error, and therefore error also is not divisible. You don't worry about this point. It takes a long time to understand what I am telling. The error is indivisible तो बहुत बड़ी बात थी जी. हाँ समझ में वो समझ Yeah, ununderstandable, don't try to understand. You begin understanding what the problem is. You have to understand seriously what the problem is. Our problem is, a jiva's problem is that he cannot accept his existence as an individual. He cannot accept non-eternity. He can't accept limitation. He can't accept struggle. He can't accept incompleteness. There is a protest against all of it, which we call struggle. And that choiceless, that irresistible struggle, unstoppable struggle, universal struggle, is due to the fact, because freedom from all of it happens to be his nature. It's a very serious matter. Therefore, the struggle, man struggles to be what he essentially is. He wants to be what he already is. Now, he cannot become what he already is. That's not possible. If he already is, then he doesn't have to become it. He has to discover how he already is all that he wants to be. Did you hear the sentence? What did I say?
That he cannot become, he has to discover that he is already.
He is already what he wants to be. What he wants to be, that he already is. Able to follow? And therefore that he has to discover. That is called Vedanta. It's a very serious matter. All that man wants to be, he wants to be peaceful, he wants to be happy, he wants to be eternal, etc., complete. That he already is. If he is not already that, if he is not already what he wants to be, if he is not what he wants to be, he would never have an unstoppable want to be that. You see, because generally we throw away the wants which can't be fulfilled. Sometimes you want a thing and it is not available, you forget about it. But the love for happiness, even if you don't get happiness, you continue to search. Even if you don't find peace, you will continue to search. That means it is unstoppable, and that means what? You want to be what you already, because it happens to your nature, and therefore the search for it is unstoppable. Very good question. Yes. And if you want to know more, continue the classes. You want to know, you want to think seriously, sit down quietly in a corner and be regular. If you want to know what it is all about, you have to be regular. You have to be serious. In the sense, you have to be diligent about this particular. Okay? Even Sunday you can come, that's good enough. Even one class a week can give you enough material to think.
For the whole week, yes.
For the whole week.
I know.
One vakyam is enough. If one is a very, very thoughtful, one is very, very, very thinking person, reflective person, he allows the statements to affect him, then definitely the whole week you can be reflective to what does it mean. You don't have to think. You just keep looking at that statement. Because every statement seems to go against, seems to contradict the universal thinking. Vedanta, what Vedanta says, goes against whatever man thinks. So the Vedantic thinking is totally different from the universal thinking, definitely. And therefore, it's good enough to make one reflect. How is that right? How is this not right? Etc. etc.
Yeah, Jigyasa.
Jigyasa, Jigyasa. So for the whole week, anybody? You like? आप ले लीजिए. Anybody? I don't know. Sakashayam vijaniya. Vambrapya na vichalaye. Mandukya Upanishad says, Sakashayam vijaniya. Take black coffee. Amam prapyana vijani. And having taken it, don't unnecessarily worry about it. Take coffee and don't worry. Adi sakashayam vijaniya. Amam prapyana vichalaye. Vedanta is great, provided the people are ready for it. Jiva is ready for it. Adhikari is there. What Vedanta says is right. Every letter of it is right. The whole prakriya is right. But Jiva is not available. Indra was not available. Indra came for a few days. Prajapati was taking classes. Virochana, the king of the Asuras, came. He just heard one class. Saying, at least we should compare ourselves with Virochana and feel happy, because we are much better than him. Virochana, he came to Prajapati and then he heard the first class. And in the very first class, Prajapati said, what you see everywhere, you can see the truth in water. What you see in water, what you see in a mirror, is the self. Is the truth. Then Virochana goes and sees in the water and sees his body. Naturally, reflection. He looks into water and sees his body reflecting there. Looks into the mirror and sees his own body and concludes that body is the self, the truth, and goes and makes an announcement in his kingdom. This body is the truth, look after it well. This body is the truth, feed it well, worship it well. That is why even after the death of the body, they worship it and burn it, because it is the truth. It is called Virochana Sampradaya. Are we not better? Definitely we are better. Whereas Indra also comes at the same time. Indra comes first time. Then he also was almost reluctant to come next class. Then again something, some grace was there, some Sattva-guna was there, little objectivity, say let me go again. So second class he attended. That gave him strength to attend the third class. That gave him the strength to attend the fourth class. Then there is a topic. And the topic unfolds. Then he understands. Because sometimes, we don't get breakthroughs. When we don't get breakthroughs, don't give up. In understanding, we don't get breakthroughs. Then we lose interest. We keep on pursuing. Keep on knocking. Keep on knocking. Keep on knocking. Because it has no alternative. Therefore, even knocking persistently is not difficult, because there is no, I can't give up and do something else. It's like, supposing you don't find happiness, then you don't give up happiness and seek something else. Even if you don't find happiness, you will continue. You will continue. You don't find peace, but you will continue. Similarly, you don't make breakthroughs in understanding what Vedanta is telling, but you pursue it, because it has no alternative. And that is what is called tiksha. Otherwise what happens? You make an effort, come for a few classes, you can't make head or tail of what is being said. Then you say, forget about it, let me go back and do something else. Or go to some other kind of spirituality where it is easier, meaning nothing to understand. Whenever you say it is easy, means what? You have heard something which you already knew, that is called easy. Pratipadanam is different from Anuvada. Anuvada means somebody says something which you already know. Then you say, oh, it is very easy to understand. If something new is, something comes, and very corrective statement of the already obtaining perception, then you say it's very, very difficult. But education is nothing but rectifying our own perception. Therefore, whenever you don't get breakthroughs, you should not become, disheartened. You should continue. Here or there or anywhere, continue the Adhyayanam. Wherever you are, even if you are in America, continue Adhyayanam. Find out a place where there is proper teaching and continue. Anywhere. And having done some study, then you can stay home and then live a reflective life. The reflective life means a life of a sage. Your whole material, the entire topic is yourself, the being is the avasthatraya sakshi, the advitiya vastu. That is how the Indian sages live. Okay? Any other question? There are questions, then we will see later on. We come back. In the meantime, we can do Sanskrit, vagera. Because this is the thing to be done by a jiva, therefore, a few ups and downs in your material life should not make you feel depressed. Because if those ups and downs in your material life, they create depression, that will tell upon your study. You should just bulldoze it. Jo hai. Bas. Not a big deal. If it is there, it is there. If you have more. If you have less, it doesn't matter. The more doesn't mean great, the less doesn't mean really you have lost anything. As long as Sharira Yatra is going on, fine. As long as Sharira Yatra is going on. Therefore, you have to have what we need some values. Like, let me not unnecessarily, let me accept whatever comes to me as a result of my past karma or the present karma. Let me be contented with what I have as long as it is enough for my survival. If it is not enough, then I can do something and get something. That should not become an issue. Survival becomes an issue, then Vedanta is out. If survival becomes an issue. Similarly, if relative peace in the mind becomes an issue, Vedanta is out. Physical harmony, if it is an issue, or mental harmony, if it is an issue, then Vedanta is out. These should not be an issue. Yes, whatever is there is all right. Even if it is some problematic, even if there is some problem, arthritis, etc., 1,000 years we don't have to live. 2 years we can live, good enough. In the meantime, in that manner, one has to one must look upon the physical survival and relative mental peace as non-issues. They should be there. Even environment, relationship also. This is what we call the problems in the relationships, So if a relationship, suppose you are related to somebody at home and every day, living with others is an issue. Living with others becomes an issue, then where is the Vedanta? That is why we say, thoda bahut relative peace ko lana hai, for which the values are there, for which prayer is there, Gayatri is there. Hey Bhagavan, give me a mind that can take, in my stride whatever is available. Let me live in peace. I am not interested in Rajyam. I am not interested in kingdom. I am not interested. Give the kingdom to those who want it. All that I want is some grace by which I can live in peace, so that I can take up this great topic called the Advitiyam, called the Paramatma, called the timeless being. You understand? In that manner one has to manage. That is enough. This is called Upakaksha. Upakaksha means secondary class. Hari Om. Two more classes.